one of my favorite non-single ladies. It's Beyonce doing Single Ladies, which is one of my favorite songs. I love seeing all the parodies online. I even made some of my own. I definitely can't dance like her, but I tried, dang it. And he put a ring on.